Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to pop the hood on modern democracy to explore the fascinating machinery that actually makes it run, and that is political parties. We interact with them constantly, read about them every day, but we rarely take a step back to look at how this entire architecture is actually built or why it operates the way it does. Right. So before we dissect all these complex global systems, let's just strip away the campaign noise for a second. At its core, a political party is simply an organized group of people who share common political ideas and who seek to capture power through constitutional means. And honestly, that last part, that is the absolutely crucial line that separates a political party from, say, a rebel faction. They play by the state's established rules to enact their shared vision. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the birth of parties, then run through the political party job description, explore 3 global party systems, zoom in on India's multi-party democracy, and finally, look at national and regional players. Let's get into it. Okay, Section 1, the birth of parties. So, the modern political party definitely wasn't built overnight. It's more like a giant puzzle that evolved over time. It started with early parliamentary factions, like the British Whigs and Tories, and then found this totally new ideological footing during the American and French revolutions, with ideas of popular sovereignty. But the real game changer? The Industrial Revolution. As new working and middle classes started demanding a voice, suffrage naturally expanded. Ultimately, universal franchise meant mass political parties literally had to be born, just to organize these massive new blocks of voters. That really cemented their role in representative democracy. Now, obviously, these groups didn't just evolve in a vacuum. The distinct pattern of interaction among them forms what we call a party system. It's basically the entire competitive ecosystem they create by interacting, debating, and competing with one another. And it's that ecosystem that dictates how a country is actually governed. Moving on to Section 2, the political party job description. So, what do they actually do? Well, political parties are the engines of representative democracy, tasked with a massive set of responsibilities. They don't just argue on television. They actively contest elections, formulate policy based on public opinion, educate voters, and recruit leaders to run the country. But crucially, and I think this is often overlooked, if they don't win, their job is just as vital, acting as the opposition to hold the ruling government accountable and offer a clear alternative vision is absolutely foundational. All right, Section 3, 3 global party systems. Let's look at how this plays out globally, starting on one extreme end of the spectrum, the one-party or totalitarian system. We see this in nations like China, North Korea, and Cuba. In these systems, the party and the state are practically fused into a single entity. It's defined by centralized leadership, strict censorship, very limited political freedoms, and really the absolute absence of any effective opposition. And this brings us to what I like to call the ultimate democratic trade-off: stability versus diverse representation. A biparty or two-party system, like you traditionally see in the US or the UK, offers highly stable governments and a strong unified opposition. But it kind of leaves niche or alternative views out in the cold. A multi-party system, like in India, Germany, or Italy, totally flips that dynamic. Voters get massive political choice and much wider representation, but the trade-off is often the instability of fragile coalition governments. They have to forge these complex alliances just to rule. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, India's multi-party democracy. When you look at India's immense scale, a multi-party system isn't just nice to have, it is an absolute necessity. You simply cannot govern a country of this complexity with just 2 voices. Driven by a federal structure, the system has to accommodate staggering social, linguistic, religious, and cultural diversity. The multi-party landscape ensures that all these intricate, overlapping identities and interests actually have a legitimate pathway to democratic representation. Finally, Section 5, national and regional players. To truly grasp this landscape, you just have to map out the massive ideological spectrum of its major national parties. We're talking well over a century of political thought competing in real time here. You have the secular, democratic focus of the INC, founded way back in 1885, directly contrasting with the Marxist roots of the CPI from 1925, and later the CPIM. Then you have the BJP, emerging in 1980 with a core focus on nationalism and development. And then there are newer players, like the AAP, jumping in around 2012 and disrupting the space with a hyper-focus on anti-corruption and transparency. It really represents an incredibly wide breadth of choice for the everyday voter. But hey, those national giants, that is really only half the story. Regional parties, Groups like the DMK, TMC, or Shiv Sena, just to name a few, are absolutely crucial power players. They exist specifically to ensure state-level interests are fiercely defended. In a multi-party system this large, these regional groups frequently hold the ultimate key. They basically act as kingmakers, forming national coalitions that ensure local voices are never drowned out by some centralized national agenda. Ultimately, whether it's a massive national powerhouse setting broad policy or a smaller regional player fiercely defending local rights, political parties are the essential institutions of democracy. They are the vital, everyday mechanisms that take the vast, complex, and, let's be honest, often contradictory will of millions of diverse people and somehow translate it into actionable governance. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. I want to leave you with a provocative thought about your own political reality. Knowing the trade-offs we just talked about between the rock-solid stability of a two-party system and the incredibly wide representation of a multi-party landscape, does your country's party system truly reflect your beliefs? Or is there a better way to organize power? Keep questioning the architecture around you, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.